Hiya, time for Uber Grace. And this little church in little numbers in all these cities around the Roman Empire, they were so radically different to everyone else in their service for one another, their love for one another. They got things wrong. Just read the book of, 2 letters of Corinthians to see what could go wrong. But eventually, after a few hundred years, this church with this pure message and this lifestyle wasn't supposed to be a religion, it was a lifestyle of devotion. And you devoted yourself to God by devoting yourself to one another. The Apostle John wrote a few letters, and in one of those letters he says, how can you say you love God when you don't love people around you? In other words, part of your worship isn't standing in church singing songs and whatever, however fun that can be, but actually it's loving one another is loving God, because Christ is in everyone, so we love them. But after about 300 years, in the early 4th century, half the empire almost were Christian and living this way, and half the empire were pagan, living the old Roman gods, Greek gods, Egyptian gods, you name it gods, Gaulish, Celtic gods. They were, to a penny. And an emperor called Constantine came along, and he was kind of intrigued by this, but he was also a warlike, conquering emperor, like they all were. And it is said that he converted to Christianity. Now, I don't know if he did, whether it's political that he did it. He probably was really, he probably did see the message and think, I like this. And what he did was he made Christianity acceptable. It was no longer to be persecuted. And he set up all sorts of committees that decided on what this is going to believe. Up until this point, it was hundreds, if not thousands, of small communities that just were living for Christ. But suddenly, the Roman government starts to take a bit of a view on this thing called Christianity. And in a way, Constantine, and later on, at the end of the 4th century, it becomes the official religion of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, Roman government, take over the running of what is now an organisation. Up until that point, it had been an organism, and it was just so different everywhere you went. There were the big thinkers. Early on, of course, you had Paul and Peter and James and John and people writing and speaking. But as they were training other people up, and people like Polycarp, and they all took over and into their areas and did a lot of thinking and a lot of speaking and teaching on stuff. But it was not an organisation, it was not a religion. But when the Roman government took over, it became this official state religion. And what's worse, of course, like I mentioned, Constantine was going around conquering people. And because in the old time you would go and get the gods on your side, you say, come on, Jupiter, you're going to give us this victory. And Mars, was he the god of war? And they get these people on our side because this is the god of victory. He's doing the same to Jesus and saying, come on, let's get the crosses on the shields. Let's do this for Jesus. Jesus, who said, turn the other cheek, was suddenly becoming an icon of state-sponsored war. And I think it's kind of gone downhill since then. Hope that's been helpful. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.